This is part 2 to my story about Denise, the girl that I met outside of prison and then again in prison. So, I am now in confinement on the annex because of boot camp. And I'm standing on my bunk one day. We're like a couple days in, maybe a few days. And if you stand on top of your bed, there's like a tiny little window that you can look out of. Your only fresh light. So I was standing up there one day, and right across from me is another prison pod. And there's like 80 plus women in there. Well, one day they like to talk to the people in confinement. So I'm standing up there, and when you communicate inside of prison, it's with sign language, unless you're face to face with somebody. So talking through a window or across the yard, you guys use sign language. And so I was doing that over there, and then I just wanted to ask, out of curiosity, hey, is Denise in that dorm? And I signed to them. And then they said, Denise who? And then I signed her last name, and they said, hold on. So I was like, yeah, they're just gonna go yell, hey, is there a Denise in here, right? Denise comes back to the window. And from then on out, confinement would just hit a little bit different. And the reason why is because when you're under investigation inside of a prison, you can't make any phone calls. You cannot write, if you write mail, 9 times out of 10, some of it's not going to go out depending on what you're talking about since there's an open investigation. I had no communication with my mom. She didn't even, supposedly the prison said they were going to contact our next of kin to let them know that we were in confinement and why, but my mom had no idea when I ended up being able to relay the message to Denise, who then called my mom, because again, my mom had Denise on her phone list because they grew such a relationship because of Denise taking care of me in county jail. So she goes to the phones after I sign her what happened, what's going on, and she goes and she tells my mom. And now my mom is able to get involved. My mom was able to then have some comfort. And while I was writing her, I was then able to kind of talk in code to be able to get the letters to her to make sure they didn't get stopped. My mom ended up talking to my lawyer, and anyways, we ended up getting subpoenaed to court and eventually made it back to the work camp and back into boot camp. So I want to say that's the last time I ever saw Denise in person. Well, we weren't really in person, but you know what I mean. But I respect her so much for that, for being able to give me and my mom some comfort to talk to each other, for just being there for me from start to finish, literally from my very first day to the last day I ever saw her in prison. People like that, you form such tight-knit relationships when you're inside of a place like that, because that's all you have. So you take advantage of that. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. See you later.